The biggest reason why I got on social media, because I wanted to leave legacy content for my kids. I wanted to see my journey, what I'm all about as an entrepreneur, so they could get that information. But then I also saw that a lot of people wanted to know who the owner of the Buffalo spot was. I think just saying my story, and then there's a lot of people like that grew up where I grew up think it can't be done. So you know what? I'm just gonna share my real story. Yeah, I was a drug dealer. So what? Yeah, I had a bankruptcy at one point. So what? Yeah, I grew up without a father. So what? Yeah, I was called stupid at school, so I flunked the grade. I mean, if I was able to make it, you could too. And a lot of people think that only these big people can make it, you know, and no, dude, like anybody from the bottom can make it as long as you work hard, you're persistent, you have faith, you have courage, you have passion, dude. And a lot of people don't understand that.
All right, guys, welcome to another episode of The Report. Today, we are back in the studio, and I got a special guest who grew up actually as a drug dealer, but now is crushing it in the restaurant space with multiple successful brands and locations. I got Ivan Flores. Ivan, welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you inviting me. Thank you very much.
Man. I appreciate you taking the time to come through. I've heard a lot about you in the space, and it's cool to dive into your story and that sort of thing. But first, I got to ask you, man, like, what was that like growing up in with your background? Are you from San Isidro and Tijuana in the drug space? What was that like?
I mean, back then it was normal to us, right? That's where we grew up. So we didn't know anything different. And like I always say, I used to love that, right? So when you love what you do, you never work another day of your life. So going through that life, it was very fun. It was what it was. But at the end of the day, I think we all know that it's not the right thing to do, right? So growing up in San Isidro and Tijuana, around the friends, around the drug dealers, polleros, what you call, coyotes, it was just a normal thing, dude. So that's just what it was.
What's a peyote?
A coyote.
Coyote.
Yeah,
what's that?
It's a pollero. A pollero is the people that cross immigrants from Tijuana or from other countries.
Coyote, like they're running people back
coyote,
and forth.
Right? So, so that's all we knew. So I mean, I knew no otherwise, right? So.
So like, growing up in this area, and actually I volunteer with a kid. He's 13 years old through the Big Brothers program, Big Brothers Big Sisters program, and I've been seeing him for about 4.5 years. But he lives in National City. His father's not around, but we hang out like once a month. But he's around all the gang activity. He's around all the drugs and all that sort of thing. And so I kind of see that side of it, right? He lives in a 1-bedroom apartment. His mom is single. Him and his sister live in the 1-bedroom, and then him and his mom and the mom's abusive boyfriend live in the living room. And so I see that stuff, and it makes you realize that, like, people grow up in all different walks of life. And so when I hear your story and everything that you've been able to build, it's definitely inspiring, because there's a lot of kids behind you that I'm sure you're inspiring that you probably don't even realize.
Oh, thank you, man. Well, that's why I like sharing my story, because there's a lot of people, at least when I grew up too, we never think we could get out from that situation. That's all we know, right? A lot of us grew up in that zip code, and we never really just leave that zip code. I didn't leave that zip code till I was after my 17 years old, right? I didn't know LA at that time, right? So we're so stuck in that zip code, and we're so much involved with the same people that's all we know, and that's what kind of gets us into trouble.
Yeah. With the coyote thing, like how big is that industry?
Dude, back then that was big, dude. It was big. I was crossing people. I think I was 14 years old when I was crossing people. I always say a story that obviously a friend of mine was driving. I was in the passenger seat, and in Tijuana we call them los postes amarillos, the yellow poles. When we got there, at that time, I knew, right? But it was a stolen car that we were using to cross people. So I saw this lady next to us, and she was looking at us all weird. And then she's all, "That's my freaking car." So we got off and we started running back to Mexico, right? So that's all like I said, that's all we knew in San Isidro. That's all it is, right? Crossing people over the border, crossing drugs. I mean, there's good people out there, but a lot of the kids growing up there, that's all we know, and that's all we kind of want to do.
How much do people pay for that kind of service?
Oh, back then it was a little bit. I mean, it was they were paying us around $500-$700. At least me as a passenger, right?
Yeah.
Right now, I hear it's in the thousands because of all the security. I'm not involved in that game anymore.
Yeah.
But it's a whole different game, man.
Thousands.
So, yeah.
And they typically cross in groups?
When I was doing it, it was with the car, right? In the trunk of the car, you cross 3 to 4 or 5 people in the trunk, right? They also cross through the mountains or through the water, right? But I mean, they didn't charge much back then. Right now, I'm pretty sure it's a lot more expensive because of all the security.
Yeah, I can imagine, man. So today you're doing the restaurant industry. You're crushing it in there. You got multiple brands now, and you just franchised one of them, Buffalo, right? Talk a little bit about what that transition has been like for you. How do you get in the restaurant industry?
Well, like I said, the transition, it's always been a hard transition going from something that you used to love to do, right? So the restaurant industry kind of fulfilled that same, I could say adrenaline and anxiety, right? Businesses, you're always on your toes. And I didn't start franchising till 5, 6, 7 years ago, actually. The Buffalo Spot brand. I grew that brand from 1 unit to around 40 or so units. And then we also grew a Blue Burro brand, which we're also franchising too. But I mean, the restaurant industry is super fun to us. I love what I do. It's a really hard industry because there's so many things involved in the operation, right? You got food, you got employees. But overall, I mean, it's been fun for me because it has the same adrenaline from the old life.
Yeah. I feel like it is like a sexy business model for a lot of folks. They want to start a restaurant or they want to open a bar. But a lot of successful restaurants are very, very low profit margins. What is the key to starting a successful restaurant?
The number one key for me is delighting the guests. Taking care of the guests no matter what. The guest experience is very, very important. Some people focus on the restaurant industry because they want to make money. I know money is important. But I'm a true believer that in whatever business you get into, you have to be passionate about it. And since I deal with franchisees, a lot of these franchisees come out and they think they could just invest money and it's going to work out. And those are the ones that kind of hurt. You know, the ones that are making it, they're very passionate about it and they're in the business themselves. You know, to me, delighting the guests is going above and beyond for all the guests, right? No matter what's going on. If we mess up their order, we train our team to take care of them no matter what. So a lot of restaurants, what they do, so they mess up an order and the employee itself, they roll their eyes at the guests, stuff like that, or the music ambience you have, the plating, the branding. There's a lot to delighting the guests more than just, you know, serving food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And these restaurants, these brands that you have, talk a little bit about what they are. Are they more of like pop in, dine out type of thing, or are they more sit down, a whole experience where your guest is there for 2 hours type of thing?
Right. Yeah. So most of our brands are takeout, you know, fast casual, especially the Buffalo Spot and Blue Burro. Taco Masa, we did like a hybrid. It's between full service and takeout because we have a cantina, right? So the Buffalo Spot brand, our main plate is the world famous buffalo fries. That's what we're known for. For Blue Burro, we're burritos, shakes, and fries. And Taco Masa is the authentic Tijuana taco.
Wow. Burritos, shakes, and fries. That sounds unique, man.
It's really cool. The model I tried to do with that was kind of the In-N-Out model, a very simple menu. You know, with In-N-Out, you got a burger and some milkshakes and fries. That's kind of the same thing I did with Blue Burro.
What's with the burrito? What burrito pairs best with the fries and the shake?
I'm an all carne asada burrito.
All carne asada?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
I like that. I've always liked carne asada, and I've always been a big fan of a good California burrito.
Yeah, the Cali burritos bomb. Carne asada fries too. Can't go wrong with those.
Yeah, no, those are really good.
Yeah.
And so, you know, with this model, I mean, it sounds like taking something that's simple, but then making it a little bit unique. And then from a branding perspective, like what is the key to get customers in the door when you open up a new brand like this?
Nowadays, to me, it's all about social media. If you're not on social media, you're becoming a dinosaur. You're going to get extinct, right? We're not going to do a grand opening. I do an influencer party before my grand opening, before my friends and family. And that's how I pop it up. But I'm very, very focused on social media.
And that's before the grand opening, you do like a soft launch just with like friends, family, and like influencers in the space?
Yeah, I do one opening, one day for just influencers.
Okay. Will you have any other days where it's before your actual grand opening to the public, or it's just that one event?
No, so I don't. When I do open for the public, I open it without no events. Yeah, I don't want to pronounce it. I want to make sure my team is trained well before we do that big grand opening.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's just one like soft opening with that group, and then you do the grand opening for everyone.
That's right. Just one soft opening and just get the team ready to go.
Yeah. Do you do anything special with these like influencers to help them promote it?
I mean, there's different things you could do. Some want a free lunch, others want to get paid, and somebody like myself, you know, I have a pretty good following right now. A lot of these guys just want to just collab with me and just hang out.
Yeah. And speaking of social media, I encourage all the listeners to go follow Ivan on Instagram at Mr.Ivan Flores. But I always agree with you. Like, I think that whenever you're opening anything, like we're relaunching a boutique hotel here in San Diego in about 2 to 3 weeks. And we're going to do like a soft launch for all of our friends, local neighborhood. We're going to invite the investors and do kind of like a little wine tasting in a way to just kind of get everyone out there. And then we're going to do some stuff with some of the local influencers, give them a couple nights free stay if they put out some content on the property. And I think that, that goes a far way, especially with the local stuff, right? This neighborhood right here is a staple for San Diego. When you were living in Chula Vista, I'm sorry, San Isidro, this neighborhood was a lot of parking lots. It was just next to the airport, but I've seen it evolve over the years, and it's become a trendy hotspot neighborhood for all of San Diego. So I feel like with these types of areas, I think it's even more important.
Right. Yeah, dude. I mean, influencers and social media is it makes a huge impact to business. To me, that's the only marketing I kind of do right now.
Yeah.
And in the restaurant industry, there was a lot of paper ads, other stuff that's not working right now, and suddenly it's all about social media. So a lot of businesses, mom and pops, they're not focusing on that right now, and it's very important that they make that transition.
Yeah. Are you guys, like, when you guys go and find these locations, let's say you want to expand, you want to lease a new spot, how much of it is based on the location versus the brand?
I think location is very, very important, dude. That's why you got to have a good real estate team. You got to have a good broker. You got to do your due diligence, demographics. But it also has to do a lot with the brand. You see a lot of these, like, for example, here in San Diego, Cuatro Milpas, right? I'm sure you know about it. It's pretty hidden, dude. And it's very busy. So it has a lot to do with word of mouth, too. But real estate, location is very, very important.
Yeah. Is there anything to be said about, because some of these places are unique. And so is there any rhyme or reason to, when you go into a new location, what kind of competition you have in the local area? For example, like if I'm going to open a gas station, do I want to look at are there other gas stations in the immediate area? Do you guys look at that kind of stuff?
We do, but I look at it a little bit more different, right? A lot of let's talk about restaurants. These guys are worried about other restaurants being next to you. I actually like to go in centers where there's bigger brands than me, like In-N-Out, Raising Cane's, Panda Express, because those type of brands bring the guests, and I'm gonna have a smaller brand, right? So they bring the guests, they see my brand, and they try my food out. So you can't, I know competition is competition, but they also have bigger marketing dollars that are gonna bring new guests and they're gonna try your food. Yeah,
that's a good point. I see that here in this neighborhood because, on Friday, Saturday night, it's very challenging to get a table at any of the good restaurants. And so I feel like, you could look at a new restaurant here and be like, man, you got so much competition. Well, on the flip side, it's like on weekends, there's so much overflow because you can't even get a table in these other restaurants, and they're going to naturally fill into your spot and try it because they just can't get into these other restaurants. And so that's a good thing as well, is what you're saying, right?
Yeah, if you have good food and your product is good, you shouldn't have anything to worry about.
Yeah. How much are you guys putting into testing new items for the menu? Like, let's say you want to roll something new out to the menu. How do you guys test and figure out if it's something that's worth bringing out?
We're always testing stuff, but I'm more like my menus. We keep it very limited. We're not always adding new things, but we're always testing new things. And we do for Buffalo Spot is where we do the most LTOs, and we're always testing with our guests, with our franchisees, limited time offer.
Okay.
So we're always testing with our franchisees. Our franchisees bring some of the greatest ideas. So they come up with a new idea, we test it, and we roll it out. So every probably 3 months, we're testing out new things with the Buffalo Spot.
So when you guys do the limited time offer, is this is it a special for the guests, or how do you guys encourage the guests to try it?
Yeah, it's a special for the guests. Obviously, for example, we got Thursdays combos, right? Okay. We throw it out through social media. They come in on Thursday, they get a better bang for their buck for that, right? Or we got a new wing sauce. It's not that they're gonna get a better price, but they want to try the new wing sauce out. So we get influencers to promote that wing sauce. They come out and they try it, and then they try our world famous buffalo fries or other items with that sauce.
Yeah. I've always been curious in this space that you're playing in, the takeout space, what is the most profitable food? Is it the drink service? Is it the alcohol? Is it, the burritos? What part of it is the most profitable?
Obviously, alcohol is always more profitable.
Okay.
I don't have full service liquor, but with our alcohol, it's way more profitable.
Okay.
Way more profitable. You're looking around 13 to 14% cost for the alcohol. When in food costs, you're looking around from 28 to 30% on food costs, right?
So
some companies are even at 35%, right? So, obviously, alcohol and soda are the best bet.
Yeah, I bet soda's even higher. Is it even a higher margin?
Yeah, definitely. But drinks move more than soda, right? Especially right now with all the soda things that are going on, right? Just drinks move a lot better.
Yeah.
That's my experience right now.
So you mentioned a temporary, not a temporary, but you have a partial liquor license, not a full liquor license?
Beer and wine.
Beer and wine. Is it relatively easy to get those?
Those are very easy. I mean, it's expensive still, right? But it's easier than a full liquor. The full liquor you're looking right now at around $130,000, $140,000.
Wow. How about beer and wine?
You're looking around from $10,000 to $20,000 if you get a broker or you do it yourself.
What about time for both of those?
Oh, they both take a good chunk of your time.
Okay, so it's the same timeline for each?
Yeah, pretty much.
What's the timeline?
Well, it depends. I just had one. It took me like 6 months, but the average is around 3 months.
Can you also purchase this like a location that already has a liquor license? If you love real estate investing, passive income, and tax benefits, but don't have the time, my company, Summers Capital, is buying boutique hotels right now. We source the deals, we renovate the properties, and we even handle all the day-to-day management, making it truly hands-off for our investors. If you want to learn more to see if we can help you, visit summerscapital.com/invest to book a call with our team. Again, that's summerscapital.com/invest. Now back to the show.
Yes, you could do that. I mean, you go through escrow and all those type of things, but I've never really done it, but you do go through escrow to buy those licenses.
And that transfers over to the new buyer?
And those are a lot easier than starting your own. Yeah.
Can you buy a liquor license from like another location in like another part of the city and then bring it over to yours?
See, the thing with the liquor license, that's an asset. You could buy it and you could even resell it later, right?
Does it have to stay with that location though?
No, it doesn't have to stay with that location. It does have to stay within the city limits.
So for someone that doesn't want to wait the 6 months, they're probably willing to pay more just to get it right away.
Yeah, okay. They're gonna pay big bucks for it.
Yeah. What's the highest you've ever seen someone pay for
I was
a liquor
gonna buy
license?
one for $158,000 last year.
Wow. And it fell through or what? What happened?
I just didn't do it.
No?
No.
Yeah, that is a lot of money. Can you get financing for like liquor licenses and stuff like that? Are there banks that do funding for that stuff?
I haven't done it. All my projects I do cash. I don't really believe in financing, so I haven't really done it.
Yeah. So talk about the franchise model a little bit. I had Jeff Fenster on the show about a month ago, and he founded Everbowl, and he decided like recently, like 3 years ago, to go out of the franchise model, and sold a bunch of locations to Drew Brees. And he's like, dude, for the longest time, I didn't want to do it. But he said, once I did it, I was like, whoa, this is amazing. And he didn't realize how big it could become and how quickly he could scale it. So I guess for you, you mentioned 7 years ago, you got into the franchise model. What was it that triggered you to go that direction?
You could say it was probably somebody in my ear, right? Because if I would have done it all over again, I would have not done the franchise model back then. Now I would have jumped into it. But then again, I wouldn't have learned what I know now, right? There's pros and cons to both sides. Like right now, my Taco Masa brand, I'm growing it corporate. I'm not doing franchise. With the Buffalo Spot and Blue Burro, I am doing franchise. You have those great franchisees, but then you have those franchisees that don't really care about the brand, and that could definitely hurt your brand. So it's pros and cons, right? You could have full control of your brand, or you could let go of your brand a little bit, and it could get hurt. So depends how attached you are to your brands too.
How would someone else basically know like if it's the right time or the right move for them to go with the franchise model? What would you tell that person? I
think the most important thing is that you make sure that your franchisees are going to make money. That you make sure you have all your costs in order, the investment, all that is very important, because keep in mind, a lot of these people are coming in with their 401ks, retirement money, right? You want to make sure they're successful. Nothing's a guarantee, that in business. But you want to make sure that you take care of these people. Yeah. And a lot of people are out there franchising, not even knowing these numbers, right? So you're putting these guys at risk. So I think at the end of the day, it's making sure that with all your hard work, all your whatever you got to do is that you make sure these guys are successful.
So what's the best way to test it? Would you say, if you open up 3 or 4 locations and they're all successful and they're all profitable, would you say that's enough to go franchise, or would you say, no, like you need to open 15, 20, 30 locations and give it multiple years of profitability before you go out there and franchise?
I think 3 to 5.
3 to 5.
3 to 5 locations.
Okay.
Be in business at least 2 years, making sure you got all the kinks out, making sure you have your systems, your processes in place, and then you go out franchising. And you got to make sure you have a franchisable model that you're able to duplicate too.
Yeah. I wonder what makes it, something that you can duplicate easily.
Obviously the systems, right? The type of menu, right? If you're gonna try to duplicate a full service Mexican food restaurant with all these crazy recipes, that's pretty hard. Like a lot of my concepts are very simple menu.
Yeah.
So that's what at least in the restaurant industry, that's what makes it franchisable.
Yeah. Okay, I look at like a In-N-Out. Their menu is very, very simple.
Yeah.
I don't think they're franchised though, right?
No, because like I said, they want full control.
Yeah.
If you go into an In-N-Out operation, they have full control from the delivery, the product to the restaurant itself. And if they franchise, they're going to lose that control.
Yeah. But on the flip side, a place like Chick-fil-A, which I think they have a good model, they're franchise. But I from what I hear, it's very, very challenging to become a franchisee with Chick-fil-A. There's just a lot of due diligence and a lot of like the big funnel that you got to go through in terms of qualification.
Well, they're franchise, but they don't even call their franchisees. They're operators because they have full control of their operation too.
So would you almost like compare it to McDonald's?
No, McDonald's is a full service franchise.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's the difference between Chick-fil-A and McDonald's?
Chick-fil-A, obviously they both own both own the real estate. But like I said, Chick-fil-A is pretty much a partnership where they have full control of the operator. They run the operation. They're a very high paid manager. That's what they really are. I mean, it's a good gig, right? They come in with $10,000, something like that. But they say that even at
Chick-fil-A?
Yeah, Chick-fil-A. That's it.
Wow.
So the Chick-fil-A does the build out, puts the equipment and everything, but I think they take $15% out of the gross revenue off top. And then they divide 50% profits between each other.
Huh.
But they're buying themselves a high paid job pretty much.
What's a typical franchise fee across the board?
It's around 5%.
Yeah.
5%, and you're looking around 3 to 4% marketing fee.
With Buffalo, what do you guys? What's the cost to open a new location? Let's say I want to be a franchisee, what's the cost to open a new location, and what's the franchise fee there?
A new location, you're looking around $425,000 a full build out, more or less, and then the franchise fee is $45,000.
Okay, so $45K, $400 to $450 for the build out.
Yeah.
That's a pretty expensive build out.
It is. I mean, there's a lot higher ones.
Yeah.
Most averaging above $500,000, $600,000.
How much of that $450 will come back in the form of a tenant improvement allowance or a TI allowance from the landlord?
That all depends the deal you negotiate. Every landlord is different.
What's the highest one you've seen?
I've seen $125,000.
Okay, so you're still coming out of pocket $300, $250.
Exactly.
Man, that's an expensive build out. So what are you guys all doing to the build out?
I mean, it depends. If you're doing a full build out, obviously you're coming up. I mean, the slab. Some you're doing slab, all the equipment, the decor, all that, right? But then that's why I always recommend any new operator, any new person that wants to get into the restaurant industry. I recommend a second generation restaurant space. You go after restaurants that have been out of business, and you could even open restaurants up to $25,000.
Really? Okay.
If it's your own brand.
Sure.
If it's a Buffalo spot, you're spending at least probably $100,000 because you got to get the franchise fee and all that in, right?
So it sounds like the way to do it, I mean, if you're going to open a Buffalo or a similar type of franchise, to go that route, it cuts the build out from $400 to $450 to $100,000. And then it sounds like, if you're going to raise money or you use your own money, you're break even. You're going to recoup the funds a lot sooner, right?
Faster. That all depends if the franchisor lets you too. A lot of franchisors don't let you do a second generation. We do.
You do.
Yeah, but a lot of franchisors don't let you do that.
Now, why would a franchisor not allow it?
I don't know the reason behind that, but a lot of them have certain specs that their unit has to be. I'm more free on that, right? Because I know it's going to save a lot more money to the franchisee at the long run.
Mm-hmm. And you guys allow it?
We allow it.
Yeah. Because for me, I'm like, well, if the end product looks the same as going into original build out and being the first to do it, I'm like, well, why not?
They'll save a lot of money, dude.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money they'll save.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, I mean, you probably want your franchisee to be as successful as possible. So if they have less money out of pocket, it's probably making it a lot easier for them to hit their returns, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And then, that shop that you're putting $450 into the build out, what kind of gross revenue can a shop like that do annually?
I could talk about my Taco Masa brand, because obviously the Blue Burro and the Buffalo spot, I could only share what's in the FDD, and the franchisee has to look in there. But say for my Taco Masa brand, you're looking around 20 to 30% net profit.
Okay.
If you manage the numbers correctly.
That's good margins.
Yeah, the industry average is around, they say, under 10%.
So industry average under 10, but you guys are doing 20 to 30.
Yeah.
So, someone goes by as like a Subway, average Subway might be closer to 10.
Yeah, closer to 10.
Wow. what are some exit strategies for that operator? Like, let's say they get into it and they're like, hey, you know what? Operating for 4 or 5 years, it's a successful location. Do they sell it back to you as a franchisor and you can find a new franchisee, or can they find their own buyer?
They could find their own buyer, but I have first right of refusal.
Okay.
If I decide not to buy it, then they could go ahead and broker it out and do what they got to do. With the approval, once they find the buyer, I have to approve that the new buyer through our system, making sure they're qualified to run a Buffalo Spot or a Blue Burro franchise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. It's almost like for you guys, because when you guys bring in a new franchisee, you're going to keep the location, which is good, right? Because you get the monthly fee. What's the monthly commission on those?
On the royalty?
Yeah, the royalty.
5% royalty.
5% of all the revenue?
Of all the gross revenue, and 3% marketing fee. That's used back to the franchise system, though.
That just drops to the marketing?
The marketing fund.
Gotcha. And so you guys keep that, and then you can collect another franchise fee. We bring someone else new in, right? That's pretty cool.
It's a good business model, man. I mean, there's a lot of big brands, like you just said, right? That are very successful through franchising. It just depends what type of an owner are you. Mm-hmm. If you're very, very attached to your brand, it's going to be hard for you to franchise.
Yeah. So with Taco Masa and the Blue Burro, some of these other ones, are you going to one day franchise those as well?
Blue Burro is franchising.
It is.
We're at currently we're at 5 units right now.
Okay.
Taco Masa, I don't think I'm going to franchise it.
How come?
I'm a very controlling owner. If I would have started all over, I probably wouldn't have franchised. So Taco Masa, I just want to see if how far I could grow it corporate.
Yeah.
Right.
So like Buffalo, you went the franchise model. Starting over or going back, you would have maybe not done that?
I would have maybe not done that, or waited a lot longer just to make sure I had some kinks in place. Because obviously, as an entrepreneur, it's pretty crazy, dude. You're just going 100 miles an hour, and then you're dealing with franchisees. You got to keep in mind, a franchise relationship is like a marriage, dude. So so there's and these people are putting their money, right? They're different minds. They bring their own ideas, which is cool. We want ideas, but sometimes it just doesn't work out. Different visions, right? Yeah,
I never thought about that aspect of it. It's almost like you're right. I mean, it almost is like a long-term relationship. What is that relationship like with these other franchisees and these other owners?
I mean, I've never had a big issue with the franchisees. I've actually had some great relationships with a lot of my franchisees, but they're just things that I wouldn't do in my operation, and I don't like it for my brand with some of the franchisees that pisses me off sometimes, right? And I'm very, very anal about my brands. Yeah. So that's why I'm like, I don't know if I want to keep going the franchise route with Taco Masa.
You mentioned a few times like you're going to give up some control if you go the franchise route. Like, what are some things that could go wrong if you go the franchise route in terms of giving up the control?
I mean, I'll give you one, right? Like they leave written notes, right? Like no drinks or tips allowed, right? Yeah. Or suddenly, it hasn't happened to me, but other friends, like it's a burrito concept and they're serving burgers, right? Stuff like that.
Wow. Oh, so they'll actually like start serving things that are not really on the menu.
Yeah. So luckily I haven't been through that. Or they close their store early without approval. That's happened to me, right?
Because then it brings the brand down overall.
Yeah, dude, like it hurts. I mean, you're used to Buffalo Spot being open to 10 p.m. You drive your family to a location. Well, I'm gonna get some buffalo fries, and they're closed.
They're closed.
It hurts the brand experience.
Gotcha.
Again, we go back to delighting our guests, and some of these guys don't understand that.
Now that's all in the agreement, right? With the franchisee,
it's all in the agreement.
Gotcha.
It's all in the agreement.
So when things like that happen, is there typically with most of these franchises, is there typically some sort of penalty? What typically is the repercussion for that kind of stuff?
The bigger the brand, like a McDonald's, they won't tolerate stuff like that. Right. With us, I'm cool with my franchisees. I'll just let them know, don't let it happen again, please. And the next time I get my attorney involved to send a letter. Yeah.
Ivan's calling legal. You're in trouble.
I don't want to do that, dude. But you know what? It's the best for everybody, right? Because if that franchisee is not executing the right way, it's going to hurt my brand and it's going to hurt the other franchisees that invested their hard-earned dollars.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense, man. So with all the stuff that you're doing, like where do you spend the majority of your time?
You know what? I was very big in operations, and it's been one of the hardest transitions was from a hustler to a CEO mentality. As a CEO, we got to sell the vision. We got to build relationships. I mean, I don't look for money because, we're a debt-free company, and I'm just not in my plans to look for money. But we got to be focused on the vision and growing the brand. And if you're in operations hustling, you cannot do that. So I think the biggest transition was that now I'm very focused on being the CEO of the company. Now I'm spending a lot of time doing content, which matters, marketing, right? Building those relationships and just selling the vision to my team.
Yeah, I like that. What is the biggest marketing lever that you guys see in this space? Is it social media? Is it, Yelp reviews? Like what is the biggest lever for you guys to drive revenue to your stores?
Hands down social media, right? Yelp has a lot to do with it, right? And using your third-party delivery platforms as marketing too is a big one.
Like Uber Eats.
Like Uber Eats. A lot of people see that as an expense. They're taking revenue from the bottom line, right? But I look at it as a marketing tool. So you're able to send out messages to the consumer, and that's a great way to market.
Oh, well, you'll actually get like the contact list of all the consumers through Uber Eats. Hey guys, real quick, the only way this show grows, the only way we continue to bring on bigger and better guests is if you guys rate, review, and share the show. So if you could take 2 seconds or the click of the thumb to review on Apple or Spotify, it will mean the world to me. But more importantly, we'll be able to reach more entrepreneurs and more real estate investors and help them build wealth through this podcast. Now back to the show.
Not the contact list, right? It's just sending messages or bringing them out, hey, $5 off your meal, come in. So when they come in, you put a little note in there. On your next walk-in, we'll give you a certain % off, right?
For them to come direct.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha.
Right. So, but to me, I look at it as a marketing platform.
What is a company like Uber Eats or DoorDash? What do they typically charge?
They're charging, depends on what deal you negotiate. But I mean, I have I can't say what it is, but normally it's around 28%. That's what they charge the industries. 28 to 30% of the sale price.
So you do $100 of sales, they're going to take $28.
Yep.
Okay. And then you get the delivery, you got the tip, tax. I'm a big fan of Uber Eats. I use it probably 10 times a week. For me, it's a time thing. I haven't cooked in 4.5 years. I'm single. For me to like go to the grocery store, take the time to prep the food, cook it, and then eat it, and then clean and put it all away in the fridge. Like I don't have the time for that. So for me, I just literally I open the app, I click a button, and 30 minutes later, like food just shows up. And so for me, it's a convenience thing. I know it's an extra 28% or whatever the cost is. I don't mind that because I'm buying back so much time to where I know I can make a lot more than $28 with that time saved. And I have like 4 or 5 go-tos with the Uber Eats that are like relatively healthy and relatively clean, high protein, veggies, and that sort of thing. And so for me, it's a convenience thing.
As the owners, we got to understand the type of consumer we get through Uber Eats. They're willing to pay a higher premium because of that. So, I mean, you could also raise your prices on the tablets. Yeah. You don't have to have the same price in the tablet as your menu in the store. So a lot of these businesses, they end up changing the prices too. Oh,
so you can actually set the pricing for these apps?
Exactly. Yeah, because you're willing to pay a lot more for convenience, right?
For me as a consumer, I'm not price sensitive to like if you guys raise the prices 28%, I'm still going to pay it. Yeah. Because to me, it's still worth it.
Yeah. So a lot of the consumer from Uber and DoorDash, they just want the convenience and they're willing to pay a little bit more. I'm not saying to charge a lot more, but they'll take a little bit of the hit through that.
So do you guys do that with your stores? So, if Uber Eats, for example, charges 28% on average, do you guys increase your prices by 28% to accommodate that?
We don't. We raise it around 5-10% depending on which brand, but there's people that do a lot more, right? Mm-hmm. So obviously you don't want to sell a $20 burrito, right? So
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I was talking to Brian Malarkey that was on, and he's doing higher end stuff, $200, $300, $400 dinners, and so I'm like, well, how do you determine, with that clientele, they're probably less price sensitive if you increase the prices by $5, $10, $20. So it's like, how do you know when it's like too much? You're raising the prices, And for you, with the price point, what is a typical price point for you guys for a lot of your stores?
Raising prices is always the last resort for us. Okay. It's the scariest part on doing business. You don't know how the consumer is going to take it, right? Right now, we're about to get hit with April 2024 with the new minimum wage, $20 an hour, all in California. That's going to hurt the restaurant industry and all other industries.
What's the new minimum wage?
$20 an hour.
$20 an hour, okay. And it's starting in April of next year?
Next year.
Okay.
Right, so we got to start looking into what's that going to look like, right? But I mean, I raise 50 cents, 25 cents at a time and see how that goes, right? Right now, our burrito is at $12. I don't know if you grew up in here, part of San Diego, right? I mean, I remember my carne asada burrito was at $4.75 at one point, right?
When I was going to college, I mean, this is 20 years ago, I would pay, like about $4.50, maybe $5 for like a really good California burrito. And now that same burrito, same spot actually. So my favorite California burrito in town, there's probably 4 or 5 of them in San Diego. It's called Santana's.
Oh yeah.
I'm a little bit biased because it was like right next to my college, and so we would go all the time. Late night, it was 24-hour shop, and I would get it. I would get some good salsa, green salsa, red salsa, and you always need 2. I'll have a side of limes on every single bite. So good. But anyways, I still go to the same spot. Whenever I'm craving like a California burrito, I'll still go to the same spot. There's one down here closer to where I live, but that burrito that was $4.50 to your point, today is like $12.50. Like it's not cheap.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it's going to go up after next year.
So one day we'll be having $25 burritos.
I mean, I've seen right now, I ate a burrito 2 weeks ago, $18.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like a gourmet sit down.
It was a taco shop burrito.
Wow. What kind of burrito was it, man?
It was a carne asada burrito with chicken. It had other stuff in it, right? But the average burrito for that brand, it was I think $14.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which brand was this? I'm just curious.
It's a friend of mine. He owns Los Primos.
Los Primos? Okay.
Yeah. But he has really good product, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people pay it.
The burrito was called 619 burrito. Really good burrito.
And so people are paying it.
Yeah, people are paying it.
So maybe in this space, like people are less price sensitive than some people think. What are your thoughts?
I think so. I mean, if you have quality, dude, I mean, you should be good, man. I mean, we serve very good quality in our Blue Burro brand, right? We make our guacamole in-house, our sauces, right? If you have quality, people will pay for it, but you still got to be very, very careful when you're raising those prices, dude.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, at the end of the day, the consumer has to feel they're getting value for what they're paying for.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Are you guys seeing any changes right now with the high interest rate environment? There's a lot of talk of recession, slowdown in the economy. I know a lot of companies are doing layoffs. Are you guys seeing anything on your end in terms of being affected by the slowdown?
In the industry, I hear there is. But in my brands like Taco Masa and Blue Burro, our sales have gone up.
Okay.
But I'm investing a lot on social media too. We just had a video go viral for our Taco Masa brand. And for 3 weeks, our sales tripled.
Wow.
Yeah.
So are you, like, when you mention social media, are all of these local locations, are they each having their own social media, or this is really like one social media under the entire brand?
No, for my brands, for example, each franchisee has their own social media, right? For Taco Masa, I just have one page and I have 2 locations for Taco Masa, right?
Gotcha.
Same for Blue Burro.
And so the local operators, they can operate their own social media. Right. Are you guys providing any training on how to do that?
Yeah, we provide training. We help them out. Some of them have a hard time investing into social media. They don't believe in it. But now they're seeing what's going on. Like, hey, who do we contact? What influencer should we call, right? But it's the way to go, dude. Social media is the way to go.
Well, it is. And to your point, I think, like, all it takes is one reel to go viral or one TikTok. Everyone shares it, and all of a sudden it's got 10, 15 million views, and it's free to post that. You know, and I think especially in your space, what I notice in the social media space is, like, the pieces of content that do really well are the ones that people are sharing and saving, and then the algorithm thinks, okay, this is a good piece, and it starts to push it. And I think in the restaurant space, if you put out a good piece, that's stuff that people are like, oh, they save it and they want to share with their friends. They're like, hey, let's go try this sometime.
Exactly.
And so I almost think like the content in your space is easier to go viral than a lot of other spaces.
It is, me personally right now, I decided to also create my personal brand.
Okay.
That's another thing. I think any business owner should be creating a personal brand. If it's a restaurant, you got to get your face out there. People want to put a face to the brand.
That's why you're on this podcast today, man.
Well, that's why I'm here, man. That's how you got me here too. Before, I was very private. I didn't want to be on social media. And this just happened 6-7 months ago.
What do you think flipped for you?
Well, the biggest reason why I got on social media, because I wanted to leave legacy content for my kids. I wanted to see my journey, what I'm all about as an entrepreneur, so they could get that information. But then I also saw that a lot of people wanted to know who the owner of the Buffalo spot was. So I'm going to get into it. I was a little bit camera shy. I'm still am, right? Yeah. I'm not good in camera still. But I think just saying my story, and then there's a lot of people like that grew up where I grew up think it can't be done. So you know what? I'm just gonna share my real story. Yeah, I was a drug dealer. So what? Yeah, I had a bankruptcy at one point. So what? Yeah, I grew up without a father. So what? Yeah, I was called stupid at school, so I flunked the grade. I mean, if I was able to make it, you could too. And a lot of people think that only these big people could make it, you know, and no, dude, like anybody from the bottom can make it as long as you work hard, you're persistent, you have faith, you have courage, you have passion, dude. And a lot of people don't understand that.
Yeah. No, I agree, man. Like I was just thinking with the kid that I volunteer with, you know, I was telling him like, man, when you turn 18, if you want to get into real estate investing, you want to do anything, like I will help you. It's all there. You don't have to go to college. Like he hates school. I didn't like school either, right? And I think everything that I learned in college, I don't apply it to today's world, right? And so I was telling him, hey, like you can do anything you want to do. And like all these kids that you're hanging out with that are in gangs or doing drugs, it's like you think that's cool today, but when you become 25, 35, 45, like that's not cool, right? That's not the cool thing. And so it's like getting him to realize that, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, my grandma used to tell me, dime con quién andas, te diré quién eres. Tell me who you hang out with and I'll tell you who you are.
It's such a powerful saying.
It's such a powerful, dude, because it's so true. You hang out with people that are partying, you're going to end up partying with them, right? But yeah, dude, it's just very important we shift that mindset. And I think that's one of the things that inspired me to get into social media. Yeah, you get a lot of people talking crap on the comments, but at the end of the day, that only helps my algorithm, so I'm good.
But you're right. You know, it's all who you hang out with. It's all who you surround yourself with. And I think the tough part is, for this kid, for example, is he can't control his environment, right? Like for you and I, if we don't like our environment, it's easy for us to change it. But for him, he's kind of stuck in that environment until he really turns 18, right? Like the schools that he goes to, his surroundings, it's a lot harder for him to replace that. And so I think the key is really getting him from where he is today to where he's 18 and old enough to kind of make his own decisions. So we'll see.
Well, we'll see, man. But I think anybody has the power to change it regardless, right? Yeah, he lives there, but he could go to a library, right? And it's hard. I'm not saying it's easy because I made those mistakes, right? All I wanted to do is hang out with friends and party and do certain things, right? But it's just who you're hearing, right? Who you're hanging out with. Like he's hanging out with you sometimes. I would be like, at his age, I would have loved to hang out with you, man. I didn't have that. You know what I mean? All I had was drug dealer friends, you know, gang member friends, you know, so just like him. But
I'm curious, because I know, you know, in the real estate investing space, there's a lot of mentorship programs, there's a lot of masterminds, there's a lot of groups out there. And there's even meetups, you know, like we host a monthly real estate investing meetup. And so for someone that's new that wants to get into real estate investing, they can join these groups and they can get around people that are doing it successfully and they can learn from them. So they're not like alone, right? I think anytime we do anything new, whether it's in business or in real estate investing, it's like, it's scary doing it for the first time, right? So by not doing it alone, it's huge. So I guess in your space, I'm curious, are there masterminds and support groups and meetups and that sort of thing?
You're starting to see more of them, but what I do see in my space that there's a lot of haters, you would say.
Really? What do you mean?
A little bit, right? Like they don't want to share the knowledge a lot. There are a lot of some of them out there that I've looked for, but I felt that like when I was growing through my path, through my journey, like a lot of people didn't want to help out. Only like my friend, like I said, my friend Felix, the owner of Los Primos, you know, he was a great help to me, man. You know, he was a good mentor. He's still an open book. Now I'm an open book to him, right? He asked me for advice and we share a lot of ideas. But very few people are like that in the restaurant industry. So it's kind of hard. But now you're starting to see, that's why I started sharing a lot of my stuff. I give out free game, dude.
Yeah.
Just free game. And I even DM people. They ask me questions. Like I don't even charge for it, you know? So it's just important as business owners that we share the love and share the wealth.
Yeah. I wonder why that is. I know like the old school mentality, a lot of the mom and pops people in my space, I feel like they have that scarcity mindset. Like, hey, like, you know, if I get the money, I want to hold on to it. If I know strategy or wisdom, I don't want to share it because that's going to create competition. And obviously, you know, I think, you know, my mindset is like the abundance mindset. I feel like the more I put out there, the more I give, the more, you know, we all win in the long term. And at the end of the day, it's like, you know, the way the Fed prints money, there's so much opportunity out there today with all the social media platforms, podcasts. But there's just so much money out there in the world that I feel like anyone can go get it if they want to. They just got to go do it.
It's just a piece of paper, man. They're that printing press, man. You know, they just keep going. So, but yeah, I mean, you know, like my team, you know, I show a lot of entrepreneurship. I'm showing, you know, how to shift their mindset, read a lot. And some people tell me, hey, but if you teach them this stuff, what if they leave you? they leave me, right? You know, I want people to succeed, and if they want to become a franchisee with me, cool. Maybe they want to grow a brand with me, right? A lot of people are not born to be entrepreneurs.
Sure.
You know, it's okay to be an employee, but you should try to help people and educate them to try to be one, man. You know, if you're balling, you want them to ball too.
You mentioned not everyone should be an entrepreneur. What type of person, like maybe there's someone listening to the podcast right now and they're interested in, you know, figuring out and discovering whether they should go in the restaurant industry. What type of person should open a restaurant?
To me, that's very easy. If you went to school and you were daydreaming and dreaming a lot, if you had that ADD or whatever, if you couldn't pay attention, I think a lot of convicts have entrepreneurship spirit in them because they want to be free, right? They were always doing other things and they couldn't pay attention. So I think you shouldn't feel bad if you feel that you're not a school person. If you're not a school person and you're always dreaming and having visions, I think you're an entrepreneur, dude. Because the school system was designed to create employees. That's just my personal opinion. And I could never live in a square, in a circle, dude. I was always out and about, right? So, I mean, if you're not good at school and you're always running around and they say that you have ADD or whatever, I think you're an entrepreneur, man. You're good for a restaurant or any business.
Yeah. For someone out there that wants to start their first restaurant, what is one piece of advice that you would give them?
One, man, I have so many for the restaurants. I think is do not get into debt on doing it. Try to find some money through friends and family. Work hard. I worked 3 jobs and I had a little mobile detailing business. I saved my money there.
That's not a bad business, by the way.
No, I used to make $3,000 a month just for the weekends, right?
Wow.
Right. Try to get 3-4 jobs, save up the money, open a second generation space. Do not open a first generation restaurant.
That's a good one.
I think that's the biggest one. A lot of people end up spending $500,000, $400,000 on their first build out. And then the success rate is very low in a restaurant, especially if you're starting your own brand.
Yeah.
You know, 95% of restaurants go out of business. That's why you want a franchise.
Is that what the number is? 95% of restaurants
Around
go out of business?
That's why if you start your own brand, that's why most people should go into franchising. I'm not saying not to do your own brand. I did it, right? But you got to know the risk tolerance behind that, right?
Yeah.
So if you go into a franchise brand, you're looking around 40%. 50%, right?
That's the success rate, is 40 to 50?
Yeah.
Wow, so it's still nothing close to guaranteed. It's still a coin flip.
Well, you know, nothing's guaranteed in business, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, when you start your own brand, it's a lot harder.
Now, I guess I'm curious, like, you know, with the you just threw out the number, 40 to 50% of franchise locations are successful. And I'd imagine a lot of that has to do with the actual franchisee and their level of competency as a leader, as a marketer, and as a businessman or a businesswoman. Is that accurate?
It's accurate, but then that's why you're getting into the franchise model. A lot of the franchisors, they teach you a lot of this stuff: marketing, HR.
So it's like dummy proof. You can teach it to
it's not dummy proof, but you teach a lot of the stuff that when you're opening your own brand. See, a lot of the things that happen is that a lot of these chefs or people that, I'm going to start a business, a restaurant, just because they know how to cook. There's a lot more to just cooking, dude. You got HR, human resources, you got lawsuits. There's a lot of administrative work behind the scenes that makes that restaurant be successful. And that's where the franchise model comes in, right? You invest all these dollars and you're hoping to get a whole package and guidance from the franchisor. Yeah.
So I think I already know the way you're going to go with this answer, but if someone's new, you know, should they go and let's say they have a great idea, should they go and pursue their own startup restaurant, or should they go the franchise model first and learn that before they start their own?
If they're a full breed entrepreneur, they got to start their own brand. Because if you go into, again, I go against with rules, right? If you go in a franchise model, they have rules. And us entrepreneurs, we don't do good with rules. So if they're a 100% full breed entrepreneur, do your own brand.
Yeah. Because under the franchisee model, you don't have the freedom and the flexibility to use your creative mind, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You want to shut down an hour early. That's not going to be okay with Ivan.
Exactly. You want to serve burritos in a hamburger spot, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're a full breed entrepreneur, do your own brand and take the risk, you'll figure it out.
Yeah. I love that. Well, brother, I appreciate you taking the time to come on a show, man. It's been a pleasure. I'm definitely a fan of everything that you're building, and excited to kind of see where you go next, man.
Thank you, man. I'm humbled to be here. I appreciate your time too.
Yep.
Thank you.
He's Ivan Flores. I'm Rich Summers. Listeners, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.